Scientists believe they spotted solar system's oldest fluid source of life in Meteor Crust. As the Tagish Lake meteor was found to have never come into contact with liquid water after arriving on our Earth, the findings could mean that the fluid traces spotted in its grains dates back to the onset of the solar system. Scientists have been digging into the impact of an ancient meteor, the Tagish Lake meteorite, which exploded in the distant past above what is today Canada, and appeared to have arrived at the traces of and roots of potentially the oldest source of fluid in the entire solar system. New research in the journal Proceeds of the National Academy of Science reveals. The team, led by researchers from the Royal Ontario Museum, ROM, and co-authors from McMaster University and York University, used a state-of-the-art 3D technique called atom probe tomography to target molecules along boundaries and pores between raspberry-like magnetite grains that likely formed on the 4.5 billion year old asteroid surface. There, they stumbled upon water precipitates left in the grain boundaries on which they focused their unrivaled research. Quote, "We know water was abundant in the early solar system," end quote. Lead author Dr. Lee White, Hatch postdoctoral fellow at ROM, starts by saying, admitting that there is very little direct evidence of the chemistry or acidity of these liquids, even though they would have been critical to the early formation and evolution of amino acids and eventually microbial life. But the research in question has provided evidence of the sodium-rich and alkali fluids in which the magnetite phragmoids formed in the celestial body retrieved in the year 2000. These fluid conditions, abundant sodium and high levels of pH, are deemed as preferential for synthesis of amino acids, which are the main building blocks of life on Earth. So whatever the case, there's a lot yet to be studied. Quote, "We still have a lot to learn about how they first formed in our solar system," end quote, says Beth Limer, PhD student from Lasnode School of Engineering at York University. This is, of course, in Canada, and co-author of the study, suggesting that the more variables that we can constrain, such as temperature and pH, allows us to better understand the synthesis and evolution of these very important molecules into what we now know as biotic life on Earth. The studied sample was undug from an ice sheet, which led the scientists to believe that since it was never in conditions above room temperature, the discovered fluids could well belong to the parent asteroid and thus date back to the birth of our solar system. White has praised the method used, referring to it as an opportunity to make fantastic discoveries, quote, "on bits of material 1,000 times thinner than a human hair," end quote. The academic argued that the technique would enable the researchers to learn more about and preserve what's carried to Earth by space missions and those tiny amounts of material. This is on Sputnik News. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.